Hey everybody, it's Professor Malat with another weekly overview. This week we are in week 5, and I'm not going to take a ton of time to go through the overview. You can do that yourselves, but I do want to talk about two very important things. First of all, I want to make sure that you understand how to access feedback that I leave on assignments. Since you have submitted your personal narrative rough drafts, you need to have the feedback in order to revise the assignment, because this week we have two very important assignments. The first is the personal narrative peer review, and then you also have your personal narrative final revision. So I'm going to quickly go into student mode here so I can view as student, and I will walk you through a couple of things here. First of all, I want to make sure, as I said before, that you know how to find your feedback that I leave on your assignments. One way you can do that is to go into the assignment, and after you have submitted and after I have left feedback, you will see some information over here. That is not the only place that you can see feedback. You can look at the rubric feedback. It will open up this page for you. You'll see the rubric that I will leave, and if a peer reviewer has made any kind of comments or markings in the rubric in their evaluations, you'll also be able to click on this arrow here to switch between the reviewers. So you can read here. Sometimes I'll leave comments. You can see how I mark through it and that kind of thing. So that's one way. And to get out of that, you can click on that here. The other way, once you're in the assignment, you can look for this view feedback link. If you click on that, that will open up the viewer. You can see my general comments. Once again, you can open up the rubric as well as the document itself. This opens up the document viewer, so any markings, any annotations that I or another reviewer makes for you, you will be able to open up and see. If you want to expand or shrink the document itself, you click on this double arrow thing up in the corner, and that expands it so that you can see the document itself. And if you need to zoom in, you can zoom in. So there are several types of markings that I tend to use. If I use a marking here on the side, it's usually I'm making some kind of comment on the paragraph itself. You see that it's linked to this comment here. I see that you've admitted to using generative AI. Since it is for the purpose of having an example for this assignment, I'll allow it. This document is a crappy document that I just kind of asked Gemini AI to pump out for me so that I had an example that I could then use to record videos and make markings on. So again, you might see circling of something, and that's usually if there's something that's misspelled or some kind of punctuation. And if there's a comment, you will be able to find it over in the side. Sometimes I highlight things. It might be a good highlight, it might be a bad highlight. If it's something really good, usually anything that's marked or flagged with green is usually pretty good. Red, it's something you should really pay attention to. And yellow is, it really depends. If I need to explain it, I'll explain it again in the comments area. There you will also see a strike through, and sometimes I will provide a suggestion or a recommendation of how you can change your language. And then again, these kind of side markings. And then we have these little flags, right? And that's again just to call attention to a more general comment. Can you weave in a personal story here to provide more interest to your narrative? So hopefully that clears up some of or eliminates any of the confusion you might have how to find your feedback. So that's one way you can find it. There is also your similarity score for Turnitin. If you click on that, that will open up a different window for you. Oh, I should agree to that. And you can see where things might be problematic for your Turnitin similarity score. So right here, Turnitin has flagged the similarity here. A more diverse student body brings a wealth of perspectives. It will tell you where it came from, but you might not be able to see the exact match because it's a student paper, and typically we don't have that show up in Turnitin. So anything under about 20 to 25% usually isn't problematic with Turnitin. That's the Turnitin Feedback Studio. So what else was I going to show you real quick? Oh, how you need to, or not how you need to, how you locate your peer review assignment. So once you have submitted your draft, and if anybody else has submitted a draft, then the system will automatically assign a peer's paper for you to review. So if you go into the assignments, once again, and look under this submission area, if you look down towards the bottom, up over the comments that I leave for you, if I've made any comments, above that there is assigned peer reviews, and you should see the name of the student. It will have a link there, and you can click on that, and that will open the document viewer, for which you can then use all of those tools. So another place where you can see that, I think, no, I don't think you can see it if you go into grades. But if you go into assignments, it may also be nested under this assignment. Since I have just a test student account, I can't set it up in such a way that you would be able to see a peer review. I can't assign a peer review to myself, because I don't have an additional test student there. So for you all, though, it should be nested underneath. So there would be another line underneath, and it would say peer review or something like that. So that is how to find feedback, how to locate your peer review. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, oh, it's in the informal assignments. So the other assignment that you have to do is the personal narrative peer review. So because we are an online class and peer review is done through Canvas, there's not anything that you actually have to physically submit. This assignment is just for my purposes to track that you have completed the peer review. The Canvas peer review is kind of weird as far as showing who has done it and who hasn't, because Canvas, for whatever reason, only pays attention to the general comments that students make or the rubric. If you make any kind of annotations within the document, for whatever reason, Canvas doesn't consider that a peer review. I don't know why, even though that's usually a more in-depth peer review than just leaving generic comments in the comments section. So I want you to read through the directions for how you do this. There is a feedback form. I don't want you to feed it out. This is just for suggestions to guide you through your first peer review. So if you look at this, I'll actually open it and talk about it a little bit. There are some pointers here as far as how you can go about doing a quality peer review. So of course, you always want to start with the positive, right? Congratulate the student for doing something well, what was done well. Please also write the writer's main claim or focus. You don't have to do that, but at least congratulate them. And then ask clarifying questions. So what part of the essay were confusing? What specific suggestions do you have for revising those unclear parts? R stands for request more. What would you like to know more about the topic that can enhance the essay and supports the thesis? E is to evaluate its value. What specific details don't work with the essay? What could be moved within the essay, and that kind of thing. And then lastly, S is to summarize, and overall, what new information have you learned, Or how are you thinking differently after this reading? So that could be a place where you could comment, I didn't really think about things in that way. Your essay has really provided me with some great insight, you know, something like that. So again, you don't have to fill out this form. You don't have to answer all those questions. I am just providing this for you so that you have some kind of guidance on how to conduct a peer review. Peer review will be due on Wednesday, February 12th. So again, to be assigned a peer review, you have to submit your draft. If you submit your draft late, you need to let me know so that I can go into the system and manually assign a peers paper for you to review. Sometimes it works out that we don't have like an equal number of students, especially after the fact. If people are handing work in late, it complicates things for me to make sure that every student has been assigned a peers paper to review. So sometimes that means one student might get 2 peer reviews just because of, if there's uneven numbers and people are handing things in late. So again, there are instructions on how to use the peer review feature in Canvas. Please watch that video. And then of course, I have a link here to locate your assigned peer. This just all is reminders of things that I just walked you through. Once you've located the peer's paper, click view feedback instead of clicking on their document. That opens up the document viewer, and then you can use those digital markup tools, similar to how I use them. Again, as a reminder, you can fill out the assignment rubric, you can leave comments. If you do that, make sure that you click on save so that your scoring or your comments aren't lost. But everything else, all of the annotations that you make within the document viewer, all of those things are saved. They're recorded in Canvas, so you don't have to manually submit an assignment. You just go into the student's paper, you make your comments, you provide your feedback, and if you've done a rubric or if you've typed comments in the general comments area, make sure that you click save so that that information isn't lost. So hopefully that's clear. If you have any issues accessing your student's document, or if you're completely lost, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Send me an email. I will walk you through it. If we need to set up a short Zoom call so I can share a screen with you and you can see how to do it, I'm more than happy to do that. I don't want you to feel confused by it. It's the first peer review, so I expect things will be a little rocky and difficult. But once we get that experience under our belts, the next peer review is not going to be as difficult. So let me just quickly look at the week 5 overview. We are focusing primarily on peer review and revising. There are some things here that you can read if you want to read more about peer review and understanding feedback, as well as revising, smoothing your writing. There is also a handbook for editing if you need to review some of the rules of punctuation and grammar and that kind of stuff. There are some videos that you can watch, how to be a great peer editor. Again, I don't expect you guys to capture all of the mistakes, all of the grammar and that kind of stuff. I don't want you to be looking for those kinds of mistakes. If you find them, that's fine. You can point them out, especially if I haven't gotten to a student's paper yet. But primarily, I want you to be evaluating the content. Does it make sense? Has the student done the assignment correctly? What things can they do to improve their writing, right, and make it even better? Those are the more important aspects of peer review. The nitty-gritty things, the punctuation, the editing stuff, I don't really care so much about for you guys to pick up on. And again, we have some optional materials, how to revise and what is editing from study hall composition. So again, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to reach out. You know where I am. And of course, if you want to, you can also send your work to one of the tutors at the Academic Writing Center. It does not have to be a Claremont tutor. It can be, The folks there on main campus, they're happy to do things virtually for students, but we do have 2 dedicated tutors on the Claremont campus who are associated with this class, who are very happy to meet with you virtually or receive documents through email, and they will give you feedback accordingly. So it's just a matter of giving them enough time before the assignments are due so that they can get to your paper, leave you feedback, and then you can revise as you need to. So I highly recommend using them. They're free. And as I said, they're not super busy this spring semester. So they're really happy to work with anybody who asks for additional help. Okay, take care, everybody. And I look forward to reading your revisions. Bye-bye.